Hi y'all. So because I did this video, I did my self-made review, and I had already gone to it a little bit on social media with a few women on the topic of emasculation and how it was portrayed in the movie. Now I believe that the husband particularly really was emasculated. Okay, I believe that Madame C.J. Walker did emasculate her husband. So before I get all the crazy comments from the feminists, I am one too, so I know how we think. Before I get all the crazy feminist comments, because people are going to tell me I start sounding like a pick me or any of that crazy crap. Believe me, I ain't no damn pick me. I just want to stave that off and explain myself further. So let's talk about obviously I was talking in the context of the movie, and that is why I gave specific examples, because I think even from the black women I interacted with and talked to, they didn't even see the examples that I provided. All they saw was this weak ass nigga, he cheated, boop boom boom, whoop de whoop whoop, and that was it. Okay. Now, again, like I said in the other video, I don't believe that cheating in majority of cases, over 90%, that you can ever blame cheating on the person getting cheated on, right? But I do believe people can have accountability in certain situations, and that a lot of times demise of a relationship, especially of a marriage, is not only one person's doing. Whether or not there's something as dramatic that causes the actual break as cheating, there are things that build up and lead to those kind of circumstances a lot of times, okay? And again, not blaming her for getting cheated on, okay? Listen, Linda, listen. Not blaming her for getting cheated on. However, I think that ignoring that sometimes there are women, black women, who are so headstrong, so driven, so ambitious, that family is really not a priority to them anymore. And that's what I want to touch on more, not just even in the context of the movie, okay, guys? So let's talk about black women, ambitious, driven black women, and who want to deal with alpha type men, meaning very strong black men as well, right? That doesn't mean that they have the same kind of drive, but just saying that they're the type who's like, I'm head of the household, like they want to be the provider, things along those lines, and how that really plays with each other. Okay, I think it's hard. I think it's really a balancing act. Okay, it's not easy. Again, like I said in the other video, I'm a feminist. I am very driven. I'm very headstrong in a lot of ways. But one of the things that I do, because I know that I tend to go for those type of men, that's kind of what I prefer, that it wouldn't play well if I was always going to be super dominant, right? It wouldn't work. That's just, how do you really deal with two dominant people in a relationship? It's very, very hard to manage. So you have to find the person that allows you to not feel like you have to do that you don't have to baby them, that you don't have to tell them what to do, all that kind of stuff, right? And so men need to rise to the occasion of being that person, and women need to, and I hate when people say stuff about feminine energy, find your feminine, blah, blah. I'm not going to use that kind of term, but women also have to realize that you don't always get it both ways. So if that's what you want, you also have to figure out ways that you step back and trust the person that you're with to lead certain efforts in your life, in your relationship, right? So that's basically what I believe she was unable to do, and that's what I was speaking on. And that's why I think that some, not all, but some black women who are very driven cannot do that. There's a control issue. They do not have control over everything. It bugs them. And when you're that kind of person, you can't be with somebody a man who wants to have that role in the relationship. It just doesn't work, and that's fine. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make him wrong. It means y'all not right for each other. And you have to find out where you have to compromise in order for that kind of dynamic to actually work, or just don't be in the relationship. So I do think that there are ways that you can make it work, right? You can decide to be dominant everywhere else except home. I mean, that's basically how I look at things. Like, why do I want to be worried about doing all the same? Like, I can be dominant in other parts of my life. Also, separating efforts. So I think, like, I would never work with my husband. Like, it's not something that I would want to do, because I know how I am as a businesswoman. Like, I want things done the way I want them done. Does that mean that I wouldn't come to him for advice, for, support, any of that, or give him that back for his own efforts? No. But it also means that we don't need to be in the trenches together every day working on stuff. Like, you don't need to be like my, I don't know, manager, or like, you don't need to work in the business like as an official employee. You don't need to be my employee, period, because there's a certain way that I would interact with an employee, and you also being my partner in life, it just will not work together. So I think you have to be extremely self-aware of the kind of person that you are. And I think a lot of Black women don't always do that. And so when we talk about really strong, ambitious Black women, they're thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to find an equally strong, go-getter Black man. I'm going to do this all together. No, someone has to be able to be like, I am not always going to want to have the control in every situation. And if you are not that kind of person and you need control, you need people to follow you, you need people to, you want to do things the way you want to do them, this is not the relationship for you. It's not the dynamic. It's just not it's not compatible. There's no compatibility there for you in a relationship with that kind of person. And I think that Black women need to just be more honest with themselves and say, you know what? All right, if I want that, this is where I can compromise. But I really want this, so I'm not going to compromise, okay? Go find you a dude who lets you walk all over him and bitch him and tell him what to do and when to do it, because that's what's going to work for you. It's not going to work for you to be with somebody who's going to be like, I'm not okay with you talking to me like that. I'm not okay with you bossing me around. Like, it just does not work. And I don't think there's a problem with that. But again, you have to pick which one do you really want. And you can't, sometimes, majority of time, you're not going to have both with that type of man. Okay? It's just, I mean, I feel like it's just like, duh. Like, why would you expect that? But I guess that's the expectation, because the kind of comments I saw from a lot of Black women, after that movie came out, and just seeing that there was a complete lack of accountability and understanding that that's a thing that can happen, and it does happen. It was actually frustrating, because I see why there are so many situations with, again, super driven, smart, talented, ambitious Black women who end up with crappy ass dudes by their side, because sometimes we're not aware enough to know that that's just not a dynamic that can work if we're not able to compromise in certain areas. It's like we either have the bummy guy who is like lazy, doesn't do crap, or it's like we have the equally ambitious guy who is not going to be okay with you trying to basically, in essence, bitch him. So you have to find that happy medium, or you have to be able to say, you know what, when I'm at home though, I step back and I chill. I let him kind of try to run things. Like, I'm equally a partner, but I don't have to be in control of everything. And not being in control of everything doesn't mean that you don't have equal voice, equal footing. And that's why you have to make sure that person you're with is someone who's trustworthy enough that you know he's always going to think in the best interest of both of you, not just himself. That is the key. And a lot of times we don't find that. We find somebody who is selfish, who's willing to use you, and then we get mad and we feel like we can't be in that situation and trust somebody. No, that means that we didn't listen to our intuition. We didn't listen to ourselves. We didn't, listen to red flags. And instead, we continue on a relationship with somebody who's just not worthy of or trustworthy enough to relinquish any type of control to. Hope that makes sense. I hope that helps y'all crazies who are going to come for me. When you see that, not come for me, but you can come for me, and we'll just go back and forth, and I'm going to cuss you out anyway. So bring it.